Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on Fire Department Connections. My name is Cindy Jones with the Knox Company. Today, we are presenting Increased Homeland Security with FDC Locks. Now, I would like to introduce our presenter, Deputy Fire Chief David Kerr. Chief Kerr currently serves as the Fire Marshal and Deputy Chief for Plano, Texas Fire Rescue. His experience includes municipal and industrial fire protection. He serves as an adjunct faculty member at the National Fire Academy and is actively involved in code development at the local, state, and national level. He is a member of several National Fire Service organizations and serves on numerous boards and commissions. To begin our program, we have a short video.
My name is Luis Rodriguez. I'm a fire captain.
Michael Haas. I am a captain for the Akron Fire Department.
I work for South Trail Fire District.
I'm a fire code enforcement officer.
FDC locks protect the fire department connection, which is what the fire department uses to pump water into a building to augment the sprinklers or the standpipes that help protect the building inside.
You pull up onto the building and you see an FDC connection that has a cap missing, has debris in it, a can, a rock. You know right away that you can't trust that fire protection system. Bring it up.
It's important to keep them capped and keep the caps on because people do put trash in there, and that prohibits the fire department from connecting to the system, which can clog the water system, and then they have no water to put out the fire.
There's no pressure. I'm getting nothing over here.
The Knox FDC lock protects the swivel and threads itself from damage, along with debris being stuffed inside, which can often cost thousands of dollars in damage or replacement of the system, along with maintaining and back flushing.
The Knox FDC lock ensures that that system is operational and easily utilized in an emergency when we need it. The FDC locks are secured with a key wrench, and that key wrench is provided only to fire departments.
When removing the Knox FDC lock, go ahead and put the Knox key wrench into the keyhole and turn it, and it'll stop once fully open. Next, use the opposite end of the key wrench, and you'll do a quarter turn to the counterclockwise, and again, use your hand, and it'll release the Knox cap from the FDC connection. Water.
When we arrive and we see a Knox FDC lock, we can be assured that the system is going to function properly and save lives and protect property.
Fire prevention is the proactive side of the fire service that allows the addressing of emergencies before they happen.
Now for Chief Kerr.
Good morning and welcome. To begin with, I'd like to talk a little bit just about who is the government, or who are the government. The government is a very large organization at various levels. So some of us tend to think of government being as the federal government, but actually we have a large local government, county, regional, state, federal, and tribal government. So you can see we cover a large area when we talk about the government in general. Local can also include cities, towns, and schools. So we know that fire sprinklers are an important part, and we have some case studies to look at from how sprinkler systems operate and the success of those. So the first case study we'll look at is a fire at a district attorney's office in Norfolk, Massachusetts. There was a fire from a gas explosion. It was contained by the sprinklers. The important thing here is that the firefighters were able to secure the vital records. The sprinkler system kept the fire to a small area of the building, saving valuable evidence, which is important if you're a district attorney and you're going to be trying cases. So a fire to City Hall. Fitchburg, Massachusetts had one of these. The cause of the fire was a heating and air conditioning unit malfunction. Again, the sprinkler system kept the damage to a minimum, and the fire sprinklers activated just in the room of origin, keeping the fire to that one room, again, keeping the damage minimal. So another fire at a county courthouse in the parking garage. Have a car on fire in a below-grade parking garage, so it was sprinkled, but in this case, the building and that area filled full of smoke. When cars burn, they're all plastic nowadays, so they put a lot of smoke out. There were 75 to 100 cars in the garage at the time the fire broke out. The fire was brought under control very quickly. In less than 20 minutes, we had the fire under control. And again, the sprinklers are what helped keep that fire in check. A fire at a Luzerne County Human Services building in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, involved an arsonist who threw a firebomb into an office building. Again, the fire was quickly extinguished by the sprinkler system, not allowing the fire to spread from the contents of the firebomb. So protecting our government buildings, we can see, is important. And protecting facilities from fire is one of our greatest concerns. We have the same problem whether we're in a town or a small city. Government buildings are everywhere. Every town has a post office, so we know that government buildings are scattered throughout our areas. Having a reliable fire protection system is a difference between a small fire and a large fire. The case studies we saw at the opening there all showed reliable fire protection systems that, again, kept the fire very, very small. Federal buildings and government buildings, local and state, face the same issues that any other buildings do. They face vandalism and theft, arson, fires. Security is a vital concern for us, protecting our records. Also, we have visitors that are coming into our buildings every day that are unfamiliar, so they may not be able to evacuate as quickly as someone who was very familiar with the facility. And again, many of our buildings operate on a 24-hour basis. So what is a fire department connection? We talked earlier about this is going to be an FDC program and protecting those. And so to kind of take a look at this, the fire department connection is the fire department's way to boost the pressure in the sprinklers and maintain a reliable and adequate pressure. The city water pressure that's feeding the buildings is a dynamic system. It's constantly changing. As we use more water, lawn sprinkler systems come on and those types of things, everyone's showering, this water pressure can drop down lower in the system. So what we want is we can maintain an adequate pressure. The right-hand side shows a large bank of FDCs. Some of those are going to go to sprinklers, some go to standpipes, and so there's a properly labeling these is very important. The center is what you normally see or see very common is a two-way FDC, sometimes called a Siamese connection. And that's just where two 2.5-inch connections are hooked in to the building to pump from the fire engine into the building. What you're going to see in more of the modern buildings is on the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to see a stores connection. This allows the fire department to either use a 4, 5, or maybe 6-inch hose to connect to the fire department, to the sprinkler system. In this case, we just need one hose, but it can more than double the capacity of the water by reducing the friction loss. So some of the problems with unlocked or open FDCs and what the risk of those are is, well, foreign material. You saw in the video earlier. These are Coke cans, rocks, garbage, cigarette packages, all kinds of stuff. You can see the upper center picture shows a Coke can in that one right there. The one on the right side, you still have to do inspections. That tree didn't grow there overnight, so no telling what's inside that FDC. And then the lower left-hand side, you can see I got a rat's nest built in this one. So if you say, well, I looked up in there and everything looked clear, well, all you saw was a black hole full of straw. You couldn't really see all that up in there. Just above that would be where the check valve would be. And this is where we talk about a freezing problem. So if you've got air capture missing and you're in the far north and you've got cold wind blowing up in there, you can freeze that check valve closed. Now it won't break, but it will form a block of ice inside there. So you might even know you got a block of ice inside this thing. You try to pump into it, you're usually pumping into a block of ice. The lower row center picture there you're seeing is, we've got damage to these things. Sometimes they get broken off on the right-hand side, but really the left-hand side is another major concern if these caps are not, or these connections are not properly protected. If you look at that connection, you can see it's got a slight egg shape to it. So it's slightly out of round. If that happens, the fire hose can't hook up to it. That's got to be a perfectly round connection or it's not going to make it. So again, having a locking FDC will help protect you from minor impact damage. The lower right-hand side of the picture you're going to see is what we're going to call illegal activity. You say, wow, Dave, what is that all about? Well, these are being reported all across the country as being used as drug lockers. So the police departments are very familiar with this. They see this happen. Inside this is not only rocks and trash, but there could be a couple of baggies stuck up in here. And then I walk off and someone else comes by and takes the baggies out and puts an envelope in there. If the police see this, they can't really say it's yours. You can say, oh, I just walked by and saw something shiny in there, and oh yeah, here, I don't know, this doesn't belong to me. So they can't, it's very difficult to say that this is really yours. So again, these can be used. The other thing is that we find inside these are, from the illegal drug activity, are spent needles. So if you say, well, I can stick my hand there and clean it out before I hook up, be very careful and think twice before you stick your hand inside an FDC. So we talked about Homeland Security. We talked about that earlier. So what's the risk of the sprinkler system? Is there a risk here? Well, this is a very vulnerable part of the system. It is the part of the system that is exposed to the exterior. It's a large 4-inch hole in the side of your building. So, and the FDCs are also away from visible points of building entry, like loading docks and those types of things. So the harm that we can see from these is from terrorist act, disgruntled employees, or civil unrest activists, those types of things. As we saw earlier, someone threw a pipe bomb, or a firebomb through a window earlier. The inside of these buildings are where the other side of your FDC is going to be where the main utilities of the building are going to be located. This is where your power supplies comes in, your water, your gas, everything that controls the building generally goes into your utility room. So on the other side of that wall, we saw the picture there of that. Inside that room, if we have a pipe bomb stuck through the wall, you can see here's a picture here. That's the most likely scenario we're going to have: a terrorist or a disgruntled person. Someone says, I can just stick a pipe bomb through there. So you stick a pipe bomb in that 4-inch hole, it drops down to where that check valve is, and then you have a detonation. If you take out the main electrical in the building, and now you've blown the gas in there, you've now got natural gas mixing with open electrical wiring arcing. You can see the results of that are going to be quite disastrous. So some facts we know out there is that government buildings are at high risk of arson-related fires. People may be disgruntled for various reasons, so we have a risk of this. The U.S. State Department and their Bureau of Operations has adopted Chapter 9 of the International Fire Code, which requires sprinklers on all occupancies, and locking FDCs are allowed where the local AHJ has adopted that program. Another case study is the Texas Governor's Mansion. There's a fire discovered there at 1:45 in the morning. The cause of the fire was arson, but in this case, the building was not equipped with a functioning sprinkler system. There's no sprinklers in the building. Ended up with a $25 million loss and 4 years to rebuild the Governor's Mansion. So we can see the power of having a very active and very well supplied sprinkler system. So protecting our FDCs. Pretty simple. The locking FDC can only be unlocked by the fire department. It's a universal key wrench that allows the fire department to access these. So mutual aid companies can have them. Again, it works in any FDC cap across the country. It protects them from theft and damage. Make sure that debris is not in there, and make sure that these are available for saving property and lives. Look at this picture here. You see, this is one that's called a swivel guard on there. So the stainless steel actually goes up and over the female coupling. In that case, at the very top of that female coupling is something called a set screw. If you take the set screw out, you can always steal the brass cap. Now you steal the female coupling, and now the fire department is rendered with no way to pump to the system. So there's some additional cost to having open FDCs. So we have to get the debris out of there before we put a new cap on. If you just slap a cap on there, you've now entombed the problem into your sprinkler system. So you can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, the best way to do is to back flush this thing, because if this FDC, this is a remote yard FDC, if it's away from the building, it's next to a bus stop or something like that, I can guarantee you that thing is stacked full of rocks and golf balls and who knows what all inside that thing. So, you know, you might can stick a camera down there, but the best, most effective way is to back flush it, and you can see the cost associated with that. So, along with the sprinkler system, typically is a standpipe. It's a combination system, sprinklers and standpipes. And so this is just a standpipe is just a pre-positioned set of pipes in the building with valves that allow the fire department to quickly take their hose into the building and quickly get water to a selected area of the buildings on fire. This is going to be for like large footprint buildings or for tall buildings where it's going to be difficult to lay a large amount of hose and stretch it in there very quickly. So in this scenario here, we can see this case here, we got a car on fire on the 4th floor of a parking garage that's non-sprinkler, it's open air. So the pipes are subject to freezing, therefore there's no water in them. The firefighter up there, you see, he's not getting much water on that fire. That's because, and the engineer down below has the FDC, he's pumping in that thing and he's telling Charlie, I'm pumping all the water there, I'm pumping. And he's hollering, I need more water. Well, look on that 1st and 2nd floor. Last night, some kids in there playing around, stole your brass caps, opened your valves up, no water came out. They got bored, ran off. But the valves are not indicating. So if you look at the valve on a standpipe, you can't tell if it's open or closed. But in this case, all the water's flowing down there. So the options are to run downstairs and turn those off or hand lay hose up and splice into the firefighter, causing great delay and having more cars catch on fire. So here we're talking about the standpipe outlet. You see here, this is this typical standpipe outlet on the left-hand side. It's just a valve, but you can see it's not indicating. I can't tell if it's open or closed. If there's trash in that line, it's going to go directly into my nozzle. And we've also seen a vandalism problem with these. If you've got a wet pipe system, like a standpipe in a hotel, dormitory, hospital, nursing home, whatever, you open that up, it's going to get water instantly coming out of there, and now you're going to have water damage on one or more floors. The right-hand side of the picture, you see there's a high-rise building with fire coming out one of the floors there. You say, hey, wait a minute, I thought that building was sprinklered. It was, and it is. However, on that floor, it wasn't, because this day was the day of renovation. We're remodeling that floor, so we're taking out walls, so now we've got to turn the electricity off, the gas, the power, and the sprinklers off on that one floor. So that means the floors above and below are sprinkled, but it's going to be a manual firefight on that floor. Therefore, standpipes are a very, very important part of the total protected system. So to protect our standpipe outlets, Knox has an outlet cap. So the Knox standpipe cap here, you can see this is going to be a female connection. It's going to protect the male threads coming out of that standpipe outlet. Again, a non-indicating valve, but this cap also protects the threads from damage. So if you get any kind of impact on there, you're now going to have your threads protected, because once again, if I open the cap up and I can't screw my threads on from the fire hose, then now I can't get any water out. So a case study from the General Services Administration, the GSA. These folks manage massive amounts of properties all across the country, some owned by the government, some not owned, some are leased. These are potential high dollar losses, and again, protects all levels of government. There's a potential for explosion in some of these facilities, fires, all kinds of things, from veterans facilities to all kinds of things. So fire of any kind requires a quick action by a fire department. Some locations are going to be remote, so the fire department response may be lengthy, or some may be very close. Sprinklers and standpipes need to have a reliable source of water. The GSA requires locking caps on all buildings where the local fire department has a program and the hardware to accommodate the locking caps. This is from the GSA publication PBS P100. So you've now seen a quick overview this morning of the importance of protecting that fire department connection. Now you have a way to protect that FDC. It's not just out there all by its lonesome self, not being protected. But the next step is for you or someone in your facility to go and ensure that the protection is there. Go see if you can find your FDC. Make sure it's not blocked by bushes and shrubbery and debris or dumpsters or whatever out there. And then if it's open and you can get to it, go to it. See if there's caps on it. If there's not caps on it, then we need to get those things protected. Contact your local fire department. Make sure that they're registered and that they're allowing the locking caps in their jurisdiction. The main thing here is that the fire department needs to have the key wrench to access these, and they're free to the fire department when they register. So if allowed, then you can order these boxes right away, and you can get those from knoxbox.com. Or if you have any questions, you can contact their customer service at 800-552-5669. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay, well, thank you, Chief Kerr. We'll go ahead and take some time for some questions now. Just a reminder, please submit your questions using the Q&A button located either at the top of your screen or the bottom of your screen. Who does the backflush, and can it be done when the fire department arrives, or is that too late?
Great question. Too late then. The backflush would be done by a sprinkler contractor. They'll have to go in. If you remember that picture we saw earlier of the cutaway and showed the riser and the fire department connection coming in, and at the bottom of that was a check valve. That check valve has to be taken out, turned around, so the water then can be turned on and flushed backwards through the system. So a sprinkler contractor will have to come in and take that apart and put it back together. That's why you saw the cost was a little high there. Again, that was kind of on the high end, $1,500, but it needs to be done by a sprinkler contractor, and then lock the system back up. Once it's locked up, there's no need to backflush the system again, because now you know you have a secured system. Nothing can enter it.
Okay. Okay, next question is, there seems to be different sizes of connections. How do you know which one to get?
Very good. Yeah, the most common is going to be the 2.5-inch Siamese connection. If you're doing a storage connection, you need to contact the local fire department and make sure which size that they're using. 4 and 5 inch are the most common. So again, the storage connection, it's a standard pattern on it, and so it's pretty easy to do that. Either the fire department or the local sprinkler company will install those caps. The main thing is to make sure that there's not a unique thread pattern. Some fire departments have a unique thread pattern that Knox can match for that. So there are some rare cases that you'll see an 1.5-inch connection, but most of them are going to be the 2.5-inch for the Siamese and 4 or 5 inch for the stores.
Okay. Will the locking cap keys fit inside every Knox box? That is the key wrench.
The key wrench is typically carried with the firefighters. The firefighters will keep that either on their engine or in their bunker gear or in their high-rise pack. So they can have a number of the Knox key wrenches. And it can go in the Knox vault. The 4400 will handle the key, but the smaller Knox box will not. So if you wanted to lock one in there, you could lock one in a 4400 vault.
And there are some jurisdictions who do require the key to be locked in a Knox vault by the FDC. So that does happen. It's not very common though. When the new caps are received, they come with some small metal squares with a hole. What are these for? And those actually go on the side where the to provide full coverage, because when it has a little cutout on the side of the swivel guard.
Oh yeah.
To go back.
Right, on the dog ears.
On the dog ears, and it covers it so no one can get any type of traction or leverage underneath there to try and pry off the connection from the wall. So that's what those are for.
Good question.
Can you repeat the code reference requirement regarding Knox caps for GSA buildings?
Yes, we're going to back up for you. Here if you're still looking in, you can see this on the facility there. So here's the GSA code section. It's their facility standards for the public building service. So it's their PBS P100 section 7.8.4. I think it's on page 233. So it's a very large standard if you're trying to find it. If you go to, I think it's page 233, 234, you'll be able to find it. So it's a very extensive publication that the GSA has.
Are there any other questions? We have about a minute. Okay. Well, it looks like we have answered everybody's questions. So, Chief Kerr, is there anything else you would like to cover before we wrap up?
Cindy, I'd like to just thank everyone for taking your valuable time today to be with us. We hope that you were able to gain some good insight today on how you can protect your FDCs in the future. And so hope you can join us again next time.
We've had 2 more questions. Oh. We're going to take those real quick before we close.
Sure.
Has there been any creation like rubber caps to prevent gum or other items from plugging the keyhole? And yes, there is a rubber stopper that can be put in that can be obtained from Knox.
That's very good. Some people have asked about that as far as like, and thank you for asking that question. There, especially people who may be concerned with ice or snow buildup. So again, it's a very easy little plug that slips in there and again pops out pretty easy.
Okay, and the next one is more asking me to explain something further. They say in their jurisdiction, they require the FDC with the swivel guard because of the extra level protection. So, and they said we should stress that to you and explain how it is different. If you look at the picture, if you still can see the screen, the shiny silver one, the larger one with the black FDC lock, it has a swivel guard that goes back over. It covers the set screw. And if you just have an FDC cap without the swivel guard on it, the set screw connecting the swivel to the connection is vulnerable. It can actually just go up there and...
In that case, if you unscrew the set screw, now they stole the locking cap and the connections. Now you lost your locking cap and the female connection as well.
And it also gives them a little bit more access to take the actual entire connection off the wall.
Yeah.
And that has been an issue in some jurisdictions where they're not just taking the swivels, they're taking the whole connection, which that brass is a little expensive. Okay, so I think we are out of time now. So we want to thank everybody for coming today. We appreciate your being here. As a reminder, if you have any additional questions or want additional information, please visit knoxbox.com/FDC lock or contact Knox at 1-800-552-5669. A recorded version of this webinar will be posted on knoxbox.com in the next few days. As soon as it is available, we will send you an email with a link. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.